Council Finance Committee to order. President are myself, Councilor Ingalls, Councilor Malone, both members, as well as Mayor Allen. Finance Director Marcia Hancock, Director of Emergency Services Steve Holyfield, Chief John Mann, and Director of Ledyard Housing Authority Colleen Lauer. And I think that's everybody. So that said, now's the time for citizens' comments, Colleen, so you're on.
Okay, unmute. There we go. All right, so we're going to be on the agenda next time for the pilot, which we're super excited about. But I received a call today from Rhonda at Chapa, and because they haven't actually sent out the award letters, and because we got the extra money from Chapa, there are now additional things that need to be done for the grants, and we have to pay for those things. For instance, the architect fee went from $37,000 to $99,000. Oh, yeah, I know. That was exactly my reaction, Andra. I am like so sick to my stomach. Because the money's coming from a different pot, you have to do certain things. So Kent is trying to get us a bridge loan so that we can pay those pre-development funds. But without the award letters, we can't get that. Rhonda left me a message asking if there was a possibility, knowing that the money is coming, if Ledyard had any capital funds that they would be able to front and then get back. So I don't know if that's even a possibility. It just makes me crazy. Like, we have to do additional hazmat testing. We have to do radon testing. Nobody has a basement, but we have to do radon testing.
So
lots of fees.
So I think what I'd do, Colleen, is refer you to Marcia and the mayor.
Okay.
Because we do have a process for that, for when we need money up front for a grant. So yes, but we have to follow a process. So I'd refer you to Marcia, and I think she can walk you through that.
Awesome. Okay, I'll check in with you tomorrow, Marcia.
Okay, Colleen, sounds good.
Okay, thanks for letting us know.
Colleen, I apologize. My last meeting ended at 4:55, so I didn't have time to get to you.
And
no,
Colleen,
no worries. I thought, since you guys were on, maybe I would jump on real quick and be able to ask real fast. So
we have budget meetings tomorrow starting at 1. So if you could get to me before, say, 11:30, or else next week is fine too. Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Have a great night, everybody. Bye-bye.
Okay. Bye-bye. Okay. Are there any other citizens' comments? Hearing none. Under informational items, we have some new items added to the agenda this afternoon, and we have an email, which I don't know if it's on the agenda yet, but we have an email from Steve Holyfield. So I'll pop that up if we need to look at it when the time comes.
So that's all been added to the agenda.
It has. Okay, wonderful. Thank you. Okay. So moving on to review and approval of the minutes, I'll accept a motion.
I move to approve the regular meeting minutes of February 17th, 2021.
Councilman Malone
Is there a
seconds.
second? Thank you. Any comments or corrections?
None.
I had none. They were good minutes.
Actually, I'd
all in
like to
favor, say aye.
commend
Oh,
Roxanne.
go
Could
ahead.
I just commend Roxanne for capturing some of the conversations we have? I was reading through and I'm like, man, she got it.
Yeah, well done. Okay, ready to vote? All in favor, say aye.
Councilor Ingalls votes aye.
Councilman Malone votes aye.
Councilor Solomon votes aye, and the motion passes. Thank you very much. And up next is the Finance Director's report. Anything to report, Marcia?
Pardon me? What'd you say, Bill?
Do you have anything to report
I
other
just
than the
wanted
fact that we have a budget? And
Yeah, I just wanted to
Go ahead.
briefly about the budget. I I know that you may feel like there are lots of different versions coming at you, but really for tomorrow, we think that the best way to approach the budget is to use the link to the digital budget book. I have it organized by departments so that when a department head comes in to present their budget, you can just go to that budget. It'll just show you there, so you're not overwhelmed with all the other parts of the budget. The full capital improvement plan is available on there with all of the requests that you can click on and see their full text of their request, as well as the amounts. And then the mayor's budget that I sent to Bill and he forwarded to Andra and Tom, the spreadsheet has the mayor's recommended funding for the SIP. So we can go through all that stuff tomorrow, but I just wanted to say that in preparation for tomorrow. I don't know if Fred had anything to add to that, or if we just wait till tomorrow.
So I've played with it a bit. I think this is going to be easier for people to follow because, number one, we're going to show it on a screen in the room and on Zoom, and also because we'll all be looking at the same thing, the same section of the budget. And I remember my first finance meetings, keeping track of where people are, which line item, what item number was really, really hard for anyone trying to follow the meeting. So I think it'll be a lot easier this year around with ClearGov. So I'm looking forward to it. Plus, we have all the reports and charts and graphs. So I think that's going to make our presentation a lot clearer, easier to deliver. So thank you. Nice work.
Thanks. That's all I have.
Okay, thank you. Mayor, did you want to comment on that?
No, I think that, we've been working on the ClearGov thing and understanding that it is a brand new platform for us. It's come a long way in year one already. And I think that even after this budget cycle, there's more information that we're going to be able to backfill into this system so that the following budget years are going to, I think it's a really impressive tool. And as we continue to fill out all the various fields, we're going to have a very comprehensive, easy to read budget that anybody from the public can pick up, and at a glance, they will understand it. So I love it. I think it's a great start.
Excellent. Thank you. I think we can expect more questions this year because one of the challenges at public hearings and meetings is people get handed a package in font 4 when they walk into the auditorium, and they have to think of their questions in the meeting unless they happen to go and manage to download the budget somewhere. This year, I think it's going to be a lot easier because anybody can go online and see it. So it's pretty cool.
Well, actually, Bill, the budgets are available in advance at the town hall for people to pick up in the clerk's office. So, if they did want to get a copy prior to the public hearing or prior to the town meeting, it's always been available.
Yeah, for those people who don't want to go online and prefer paper.
Right.
Yeah, good point.
Yep.
Yep.
So.
Okay. So thank you all. We have no old business, and we'll move into new business. So would anyone like to amend the agenda under new business? Hearing none, I'll accept the motion for the first item.
I make a motion to recommend the town council authorize the Ledyard Fire Company to overexpend account number 101-20501-54300 repairs and maintenance up to $13,647 and to transfer funds at year end to make the account whole.
Counselor Ingalls seconds.
Thank you. Thank you. So this is, this machine is the Green Goblin. And I had some questions about the sudden expense. And I do want to comment that it's not our normal process to approve spending money after it's been spent. And it also is, and the reason we do that is any large expense like this should come to finance. It should be discussed before the money is spent. And I don't disagree with the decision. I understand what happened, and we can't be without a piece of equipment, but there is a better way to do this, and we do expect all departments to come to the council first before spending large amounts of money like this. And perhaps most importantly, the auditors really don't like when that happens. And we pay for an audit so that we can certify that our accounting is done correctly, that our process is transparent. And we hear about that from the auditors when it happens. But all that said, the repairs to the Green Goblin, which is our backup truck, were for tires and brakes, as well as the wheel. And I'll leave it at that because we have Chief Mann and we have Administrative Emergency Services here, Mr. Holyfield. So if either of you would like to expand, please do.
So
I'd like to,
oh, go ahead.
just real quick, I would like to apologize for going in that route and just spending the money. I wasn't really up to speed on all the policies. Mr. Holyfield kind of helped me out with that after the fact, so I want to apologize for that. But as everyone knows, unfortunately, my luck with apparatus the past couple of years have been very difficult. So we're kind of where we are now with that truck. Unfortunately, it's helped out tremendously, over the last year or two, since we've been down multiple trucks at once. Steve, you can go ahead.
So I spoke with Councilor Solms a little bit, and we had some good discussion about where Ledyard stands on their maintenance and repair budget. And similar to Gales Ferry, there's been a couple of repairs where they were unforeseen. And I took actually today, and I believe you guys said you had it in your agenda packet, the email that I had sent to Roxanne, I believe she added it. And it was just a breakdown of that account that we spoke of for all repairs from July 1st through current. You can see that the approved budget is $30,000. We're already at $29,834 in actual expenditures. We've got the issue that, normally our preventative maintenance stuff for each of the apparatus is somewhere between $1,500 and $3,000. That's I wouldn't call it fixed, but that takes care of oil changes and other assorted things that we need to do, as well as some small repairs. And then every once in a while, we get a large repair that jumps up and kind of bites us a little bit. Chronicled out, we were able to get the initial R12, which is the Green Goblin, the annual preventative maintenance done. We went on and moved on R13, which is the American LaFrance engine that we have. There was some extra repairs to the Rescue, which is certainly aging, so that was not unforeseen in terms of that being a little bit higher number. And then we had the issues with R12, which is, again, that Green Goblin, and this was repairs. And as Councilor Solms mentioned, it was brakes, a new wheel that needed because the one was cracked, and then there was a pretty substantial exhaust repair. John went ahead and authorized that. That was actually spent some time ago. And, we're down to the point now where we're getting tight on the budget with what's been spent versus what's budgeted. And I wanted to reach out to you guys because we do have some, I would call them or characterize them minor repairs that are coming up in terms of there's an oil leak on the American LaFrance, which is R13. There's a couple other little small things like brakes that we need to do on the service vehicle because those are getting thin and need some repair. But we're approaching that point where John really can't spend any more money because he doesn't have any more money in the budget. And unfortunately, we can't not fix fire trucks. So we're trying to go about this. And maybe the number I submitted was too large. Maybe it needs to be smaller. I'm not sure. That's for you guys to ultimately decide. But I wanted to reach out and let you know that we are, 4% through our budget this year. And we still have 4 months to go. And that kind of scares me because we're already in an aging fleet. We've got the major repair of R11 going currently, which is going actually very well. The motor's been fitted and they're just finishing up some things. And I'm hoping to have that back within about a month. And then we'll have the newest piece that Ledyard owns back in service. And boy, I hope there's no issues with it as we move forward. These are some significantly older apparatus, 15 to 20, some of them even 20 plus years old. And because of that motor issue that we had that we are taking action on, we've had to rely on these older pieces. And of course, as we're running these, they're starting to have some mechanical failures. So, that's why our budget is getting to that point where it's almost 100% expended. And that really is the conversation that I was hoping to have is, is there more money that we can have allocated so that as things break, and hopefully they don't, but towards the end of the year, we're kind of putting us in a bind right now. So that was really what the motion was for, was to have that discussion and find out what's appropriate from you guys.
Good, thank you. So question to both of you. If we fix R12 and then we get R11 back in service, what's our plan for R12? Is this something we could sell?
I think it has some. I think it has some resale value. We purchased it for $10,000. Obviously, it's got new brakes and exhaust and a new wheel, so it's very serviceable. I think there is some resale value in terms of that, and I know that in talking with the mayor, he's not in favor of. And Mayor, you can feel free to chime in. I'm just paraphrasing, and hopefully I'm not overextending, but he's not in favor of having a reserve apparatus that's going to sit there and not get used and cost us money in terms of repairs if we don't need it. This piece was picked up for a very specific reason, and it was all those engine problems that we had with R11. And I think if those problems are mitigated and we have a reliable, dependable apparatus, I don't necessarily see a need to keep, I'll call it a fifth engine sitting around town, more or less collecting dust. And diesel motors don't last very long if you're not running them consistently. So even to use it once a week, I'm not sure that that's the most appropriate destiny for this piece, and hopefully we can have some cost recovery moving forward with that.
Yep. So I like the cost recovery. The engine has served us very well in a difficult time. Reason for my question is when you have an engine like that, or a truck, an apparatus sitting around, expenses like this come up. So my hope is we can avoid something else coming up before we sell it. So get it off the books, and then we can get a little bit of money for it and also concentrate on our primary equipment.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with that statement.
Yeah, Steve, I think you covered it well, and I would just say that given the situation that we were in at the time, and even recently with the other trucks still sitting there waiting for a new engine, this thing has paid for itself already. But I agree with where you are too, Finance Committee.
Okay. Thank you, Mayor. Tom?
I have a question, Chief Mann. So for this not this current year, but next year's budget request, which we're going to start tomorrow with the budget workshops, have you guys allocated for the fact that, as Mr. Holyfield said, it is an aging fleet, and with an aging fleet comes higher maintenance and repair costs? Or have you just flat requested the same number from last year? I'm just wondering if there's an escalation in there based on the fact that we know we're facing increasing maintenance cost.
I can actually field that one for you, Councilor Malone. We, in talking with the chiefs in their preparation of their budgets, I suggested strongly that they both ask for an increase. And I believe I don't have it in front of me. I believe there was a $4,000 increase on each fire company's repair and maintenance line item. And it's specifically in response to that. You could have the argument that may be considered underfunded. And I only say that's not anything, a reflection on anybody that prepared it. That's a reality that we've had to go back for more money for Gales Ferry and Ledyard, and we've had to do budget transfers of other line items of unspent money in the past couple of years, going back, 4 or 5 years. And I think that allows the fire chiefs to have the latitude that they need to service their fleet, and not have to necessarily bug finance to say, hey, we've got other expenditures that we need to figure out how to pay for, or cover, that ultimately the committee needs to figure out how to cover or pay for, and to evaluate that. So I did kind of counsel them to ask for more money, and I know that was something that definitely came up in conversation when we met with the mayor in preparation for our budgets requests.
Thank you.
And both of those requests are still intact in the budget that was delivered on March 1st.
Yeah, I'm just looking at it here. Good question and good answer. Last year, the year we're in, 28,000 for repairs and maintenance for Ledyard Fire, and bumped up to 34,000. So, good plan.
Yeah, I believe that's actually 30,000 is what we approved the budget for this year. And I believe Chief, correct me if I'm wrong, I think he's already moved 4,000 out of trading to try to cover some of that hole.
I did.
Because we had the anticipation that with COVID, our training classes were going to be down. The volunteers aren't as eager to jump into a class and go. There's honestly not as many classes. You guys may recall a couple months ago where Chief Saccone actually asked for money to be credited back into the budget and training because of the fact that Lieutenant Pepin was supposed to go to a training class and got canceled. So we got a credit back, and then we put that money ultimately back into the training budget for Gales Ferry. But you know, the class attendance has been down and classes have been down. And so the training cost was something that we identified, and we actually sat and met and analyzed the budget on what may have a little bit of fat in it given the current climate, and where we may be able to move some stuff from to try to take care of this in-house within the Ledyard Fire Company budget itself across all line items.
And I apologize.
No, Bill, you're muted.
Sorry, my internet's down. So I misspoke. The numbers I just gave you were from the wrong column. So we had 37,000 budgeted in fiscal year 20, and 34,000 budgeted for F21, and we're presently looking at 34,000 for 22. So we'll need to remember this conversation. Take a look at that when Ledyard Fire Company and Gales Ferry come to the workshops. So good question. Okay, so what do the chief and Mr. Holyfield think would be, since we're at budget, what do you anticipate would be the right number to overexpend by? Or are we just saying we're going to overexpend? I'd rather have a number personally.
Chief, any thoughts? I mean, I kind of went with the highest repair that we had is what I submitted the number for. I know it looks eerily like Gales Ferry's number that they submitted, but those were two repairs that were added together. I just went with kind of the highest expenditure that he had for discussion purposes.
Okay. Yeah.
And honestly, it's hard to say a locked in number, just because you never know what's going to happen. But
sure.
You know, I would feel comfortable probably around the 10,000 range, just to be on the safe side, because you know there's a couple outstanding repairs that we got to try to get done, and they shouldn't be too expensive, but obviously we got to be careful because you never know what you're going to dig in when you open a can of worms.
And I think that was one of my comments when I spoke with Councilor Solms, and I believe I echoed it with the mayor as well. Is I really am trying to tread delicately on Ledyard's repairs, because I don't want to get to the point where Chief Mann feels that his hands are handcuffed, so to speak, on this, and doesn't get repairs done that are minor that could wind up major down the road, or could put him in a hole for next year as well. Those are kind of my two balancing acts here in providing guidance, are, you know, making sure that what needs to get fixed gets fixed, and making sure that we fix it in a timely fashion so that it's not a $100,000 repair and it's a $2,000 repair. And that's a fine balance on when the right thing is, and that was certainly something I wanted to bring up and throw out for discussion with you guys as well.
So what if we did this? What if we made it a round number so that it's not the same number as the cost of the repair? The 13. No, I don't have it in front of me. But what if we made it just around 13,000 so we don't see the two numbers and think they're the same?
That's fair.
Yeah, I'd be comfortable with that.
Okay. Councilors, your thoughts?
I think that's a good idea, Bill. The only thing I would just kind of make sure that we note, and I'm sure that Roxanne will keep us honest, is that we do revisit this And I think the workshop for this is next Monday, right?
Yes, it is.
For the, yeah, okay. So I just, you know, going back to what you said, Mr. Holyfield, I don't want the chiefs to feel like, you know, they're afraid to make a repair or decision because they don't have that much money, but then they're up against the wall and they do it. And then we get back to where we're at now, which, you know, as Bill said, on the financial auditing side, doesn't bode well for us as far as financial controls go. So I want to make sure that we fund the departments with enough, you know, latitude for the chiefs to make good choices. That's all.
I think the other thing to add on that, and I forgot when I was talking before, is the other thing we have to think about is, right, they have multiple different line items, and there's training, there's new equipment, there's all kinds of different things that they're responsible for managing. And my other fear is I don't want to see, you know, the chief make a decision of, well, I either have to fix a fire truck or buy a piece of new equipment that they're planning on buying, because I think there is a lot to be said for, you know, purchasing new equipment. Like if he needs a new four-gas meter, he should be able to buy a new four-gas meter under new equipment, and not feel like he's got to take money out of that account and make a transfer just to cover a hole. You know, the budget's a pie, and he gets a certain slice. And if that slice of pie that vehicle repairs gets bigger, you know, inherently it makes the other slices smaller. And there's some sacrifice with level of service or, you know, safety related items and stuff. And I echo that he shouldn't have to necessarily choose about that because an unforeseen repair popped up that happened to, you know, kind of tank his budget pretty significantly.
So it seems to me that you know, the budget would have been fine, might have even had some money left over, except that we had this unexpected expense. So if we make the unexpected expense the amount of the over expenditure, that would keep the account whole, at least the best estimate of keeping it whole.
I'd agree.
Andre, your thoughts?
I agree with that.
Okay.
Yeah, it's tricky. And I you know, I listen to you guys, and I just have so much respect for the balancing act that you're constantly managing to keep the equipment sound and, you know, try to make good decisions about when to buy, when to repair. And so I'm just kind of taking it all in, and it's not my wheelhouse, so I have to listen extra hard. But I like that idea, Bill.
And, you know, to kind of add to this, I don't know that if R11 was back and it was whole, and let's say we were a year from now where we've had this motor replaced and everything's good, and we needed this repair on the Green Goblin, we obviously wouldn't have even entertained that idea, because at that point, there's not really a need for that piece.
Yeah.
You know, we were starting to look better with everything, and we were marketing that rig for sale, and, you know, we had a glimmer of hope there, and then we had that other issue that caused us to, you know, authorize putting that Cummins motor in it. You know, it's kind of been a hellacious sort of year over the last year with these repairs. And I'm really hoping that stabilizes out, but, you know, for all of our sanity and, you know, obviously to make the taxpayers' dollars go as far as we can, you know, that's certainly a consideration.
Okay. So, Tom, would you accept a friendly amendment to make the overexpense 13,000 even?
I certainly would. I just have one more question, and this may be because I really only saw this afternoon. Where would we get the extra money from? The 13,000. Where would that come out of?
So that's when our finance director gets into high gear and helps us out. So, Marcia, do you
What we do at the end of the year is cover all the overexpended account lines with underexpended account lines and hope that we have enough money overall in the budget that we don't have to take out of fund balance. We've only had, I think, one time, maybe twice in the last 10 years where we had to take money out of fund balance for just regular, putting aside the year that the track and field was approved, where we're just talking about the normal expenditures. There have only been 2 times I can think of where we didn't have enough money to do the interdepartment transfers. So I'm trusting that this year will be the same.
Kind of like I do at my house every month.
Yep.
Thank you.
Okay. You guys ready to vote?
Yep.
All right. All in favor, say aye.
Counselor Ingalls votes aye.
Councilor Malone votes aye.
It says Counselor Soms. Thank you very much. Motion passes at 13,000.
Thank you, guys.
Next item, please.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you, Steve. Thank you, John. Appreciate you guys coming to the meeting.
Oh, sorry. Okay, I make a motion to authorize them. Wait, am I muted?
No, you're up.
I'm not,
No,
okay.
you're good.
I make a motion to authorize the mayor to sign a proposed lease amendment agreement between the town of Ledyard and Mr. Walter Majcher to increase the term of the lease to 5 years for the purposes of farming a portion of the Clark Farm property located at 1025 Colonel Ledyard Highway and Route 117, the former state property, as contained in the draft dated March 1, 2021. In addition, recommend the town council authorize Mr. Majcher to make improvements such as cutting brush to enable crossing the brook to access the lot on the other side. Improvements would be made at Mr. Majcher's expense and in accordance with the required town's permitting process and land use approvals.
Councilor Malone seconds.
Thank you, Tom. Thank you, Andra. So land use met on this Monday night. I happen to be present. As we all know, we've leased the east side of this property to Mr. Majcher for quite a few years in the past, and he's interested in using the other side of the west side of the brook because number one, that's growing up into brush, and it's wasted land, and if you don't mow fields, they quickly become forest. And right now, it's brush and weeds. Mr. Majcher had been planting much of the property in corn, but the value of corn today is not even worth putting a seed in the ground. So he's planning to sell hay off of the Clark farm. So his thought is he would clear the west side of the brook. He would plant it in grass seed and then start mowing it and baling it. The reason he's asked for a 5-year lease, previously we've done year-to-year leases and we just renew them, is that he's going to make an investment this time in the property, clearing brush, planting, plowing, and he won't have hay that he can sell for at least a couple of years, maybe 3. Couple of concerns. One is crossing the brook. You can't just drive through a brook, especially that one. It has native trout in it. It's protected by inland wetlands. So getting a crossing would require permitting. There may be other options as well to come in from another direction, but we don't know what those options are. There is also the complication of the brush that needs to be cleared, and whether he has the right equipment. And even if he had the right equipment, if it's literally small saplings, you've got roots growing in the ground, even when you clear the sapling, that don't work well with a plow. So he might have a very long term investment. And for all those reasons, the land use committee decided that perhaps the right approach would be lease the land on the east side of the brook. And when Mr. Majcher feels that he's ready to plant on the, I'm sorry, I may have misspoken, lease the east side. And when he's ready, then start charging him for the land on the west side when he tills it. And not before he gets to that point. The mayor did a survey of the property, estimated the acres, changed the motion so that we can say how many acres are on the east and west side, and tonight's motion is to allow him to lease it for 5 years on the east side, and we'll charge him, we'll readjust the lease when he gets to the west side. Have I pretty much summarized that, Mayor?
That is accurate. So the rent paragraph, which is towards the tail end of the lease, and the first paragraph that kind of identifies the lease premises, those were the two that had the changes. So now we have 18.7 acres and 5.3, and now it identifies the 5.3 on the west side of Joe Clark Brook. So we now refer to the parcels separately as the east and west side of it. I think it's just much cleaner, and it's going to be easier to make clear if and when the time is right to start charging rent for that west parcel.
In addition, the improvement paragraph changed a little bit as well, which would require the leasee to follow the proper permitting processes and seek all the land use approvals that were required.
Correct. And maybe the last detail, we need to amend the motion slightly because the lease draft that we're looking at is dated today, March 3rd, not March 1st.
Right. And also, Bill, the second half of that motion, in addition, we can take that out because the lease now says this.
Okay. All right.
So that could be a friendly amendment. Move that in addition portion.
Andre, are you comfortable removing the second paragraph and changing the date to March 3rd?
Yes.
Okay. So, discussion, questions?
Just one question. So someone said the mayor went and checked the acreage. Does that mean, Fred, you personally went and surveyed it? Or you meant, or do you, someone, Bill, did you say?
I would probably have Bill retract the word survey with.
Did I say survey? I'm sorry.
You did say survey. No, what I actually did, Andra, is I used Google Earth. I have Google Earth Pro, and it allows you to actually measure parcels either by square feet or acreage. And so that's what I did was I was able to see very clearly the size of the fields. I measured the perimeters, which gave me an area, and that's where that came from, not a survey.
Okay. That just makes me feel a little bit better. It just felt a little bit like, first of all, does Fred have that skill set? And second of all, is there a little bit of a conflict of interest there? So that makes me feel better. Thank you.
Fred does not have that.
We have an amazing mayor.
I wear a lot.
He just goes out and surveys 100-acre property.
Yeah.
Good question. Thank you, Andrew. Tom, questions at all?
I'm good.
Okay. Guys ready to vote?
Yes.
Yep.
All in favor, say aye.
Counselor Ingalls votes aye.
Councilor Malone votes aye.
Counselor Solomon votes aye. The motion passes. Next item, please.
Make a motion to recommend the town council set a virtual video conference public hearing to be held on Wednesday, March 24th, 2021 at 6:30 to receive comments and recommendations regarding a proposed lease amendment agreement between the town of Ledyard and Mr. Walter Majcher to increase the term of the lease to 5 years for the purposes of farming a portion of the Clark Farm property located at 1025 Colonel Ledyard Highway, Route 117, former state property in accordance with Connecticut General Statute 07-163E.
Second.
Is there a second? Thank you. So question, is this really former state property? In my understanding, it has never been in the hands of the state, has it?
No, 1087 Colonel Ledyard Highway was, 1025 was not.
Yeah, so this was in the Clark family, then the tribe, and then traded for Indian Town Park. So
exactly
we
right.
need to strike that part.
Okay, take that out. Thank you.
Okay, so this is just setting the public hearing for what we just discussed. So any questions or discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Counselor Ingalls votes aye.
Council Malone votes aye.
Counselor Solomon votes aye, and the motion passes. And that was the last item on our agenda, so we are complete. And I will adjourn this meeting unless there's any other business at 5:41 p.m. Thank you all very much.
Thank
Good night.
you.
See you tomorrow.
Bye. Have a good night.
See you tomorrow.
See you
Got it.
tomorrow.
I'll
Bye.
see some of you tonight.
I'll see some of you guys tonight. That's right.
Yeah.